Okay, welcome to Universal God Message of Peace and our kind of weekly meeting. I'm Lee Weissman. This is Lale, uh, Lale Tuncer, and we are today we're going to be talking about humility and pride. And so, what we've been doing, we came up with a plan. What we've been doing is we've been kind of looking at human qualities, which are often seen as being in tension with one another, and trying to give a chance to kind of see them in relation to each other. And a way to do that, our way to do that, is one of us will take humility today, and one of us will take pride, and we'll kind of try to champion our cause a little bit and or at least examine our cause as best as we can and see what we come up with. So I'm representing the side of humility, and as I told Lale, that is ironic because I'm a person with a lot of pride and not so much humility, but that means I have to work harder, and that's a good thing. So I'll talk about humility. So first important thing about humility is truth. Humility is truth, right? The truth about us, okay, between you and me, the truth about human beings is we're really not much. I mean, if we take a look what a human being is, okay, what are we? We're about 95% water. Okay. So physically, we're about 95% water. We have a little bit of a soul, that's been infused in us, and that's very nice. But we're really not much. We're not much different from not so much different from the other animals. We share 95% of our DNA with chimpanzees, right? So we're really not much. And so if for us to look at ourselves as being small is really to understand our reality and not forget about just that's just in our world. But then we take our world and we're just one of many different kinds of creatures that God created. And then if we take the universe, right, the Earth is just it's just one little tiny planet among millions and millions of planets in a giant universe with galaxies and galaxies and galaxies and galaxies. We have no idea where it really ends. And so we're very small, little tiny things. And so this is recognizing the truth about ourselves, right? So the first thing is that it's honest. It's honest, right? And it's honest and true that we are truly small creatures, and we should. So therefore, humility is just a form of truth. I'll start off with that.
Okay, very good point. So in response to that, I would like to ask, why is it then our Creator, according to the scriptures, he asked who wants to take this responsibility, and the human being said, we will take it. And so he entrusts us with the responsibility to look after our planet and all the creatures on the planet. And why is it that he has given us this huge responsibility that, according to scripture, that actually the mountains refused, everything was offered to everybody, everything refused, but we took it on. So are we not do we if we're truly nothing, then how is it that we can believe in ourselves and believe and take on this responsibility, and without saying that we're not worthy of doing that? If our Creator has allowed us to do it, who are we to say we're not worthy to do that? It's just a question that I'll throw
Well,
back.
you have to ask me such a hard question. Oh, like in the beginning. Now, what am I going to do? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. No, no. It's a great question. It's a great question. And so among the nothings, we are really something. I think that's okay. So maybe I can concede that.
Okay, so I think I can do that if you like, because it's my topic.
No, but for no, it's an important question.
Okay.
For nothings, right? Among nothings, we are real, we are really something. And so I concede that, part of the question is also part of the question is what is humility? So there's a famous rabbi, Rabbi Bachim Bekuda, and he gives the example um, of a well-beaten dog. So if you lived in South Asia or the Middle East, you know what these are, right? The kind of street dogs, right? That are kind of they kind of walk, poor things, sideways because they're afraid that people are going to hit them, and their tails are always between their legs. And he says that's not humility, right? They're not humble. They're just scared, right? They're just kind of scared, right? Humility is something that comes after you have a certain amount of self-esteem, right? You give up your self-esteem. So we could say, well, okay, yes, human beings in the great scale of things, right? If we look at the universe and the galaxies and everything else, we could say human beings are nothing, right? Human beings are nothing. But here on Earth, you're right. Here on Earth, we do have a kind of we do have a special role. So maybe we could like engage in that special role, right? But in order to engage in it well, right, and to have and and to do it right, right, we have to have humility even in that role, right? To say, yes, we're the viceroys. Yes, we have a kind of control over this world, right? But that's more responsibility than right,
Mhm.
right? And it's more burden than honor. And so therefore we can even be humble even with this exalted status.
Mhm. Okay, very good, very good. So I think I would agree that with you what you're saying. And actually, when it comes to pride, I think it's important to distinguish between arrogance and feeling honored. So sometimes people say, "Oh, I am proud to be a parent," or "I am proud to be a servant of God." Um, I think what they really mean is I am honored that I have been trusted or have been able to do this for my creator. Um, but sometimes we use the word proud, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that type of pride, because actually it encourages us to do what we're doing, to be who we are and to be who we are meant to be, um, and to fulfill our higher purpose with joy and with gratitude. I think I think when it comes to arrogance, that's what is our downfall. So um, I think so pride can sometimes turn into arrogance, and that comes in the form of things like, we think that we are too proud to follow the commandments of our creator, because we believe that we know better. We refuse to do it because we're stubborn, and we don't want to go through the pain or the suffering. Perhaps if that's how you see it, you feel like you know better. So that's one. So if our pride gets in the way of us following the commandments of our creator, if our pride gets in the way of us treating other people as we want to be treated and not doing unto them what we don't want to be done to us,
Mhm.
that's in the form of sort of, I am better than you, I am more worthy than you, therefore I'm okay with having 10 houses and you can sleep on the streets.
Mhm.
That type of attitude, that's our downfall. And also the another type of arrogance is when we're ungrateful. So when we're successful, or even if someone might be spiritual and successful in that, to say that I have achieved what I've achieved
Mhm.
because of me and because of my intellect and because it's all because of me, then that's according to scripture, it's not okay to say that. We should always, my understanding is that whenever God honors somebody or puts them up in a high position or in a position of authority, then it's a test. But really, what does our Creator want from us? He wants us to glorify him, to praise him, and to thank him when you're up there. Because actually we're here to shine his light through us, not shine our own light, not to say, I am a light separate to my Creator. I am a God separate to my Creator. But actually to become vessels for his light and to acknowledge that everything is like that, and to inspire other people to do that too. Because what is, but when it comes to, for example, let's say if we're all a candle or a light, if we have this type of light within us, what is the purpose of not putting it up there so that people can see it? If that light can help them to find their own light, what's the point of hiding it under a table or putting it in a cave? What is the
You just
purpose of
quoted
that?
St. Paul. I think St. Paul
There's
called
a
it
similar, oh yes, there's a similar,
the candle
there's a
under the
parable.
bushel. Yeah, that was
Okay.
the
So
yeah.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because actually otherwise we're sort of not fulfilling our purpose. So if you're so humble that you're prevented from worshiping your Creator because you think, no, I'm too humble, I'm not going to go up there because everybody will think I'm proud, or they'll think that I think I'm worthy, or whatever, all of these thoughts are getting in the way of you serving your Creator to the best of your potential. So I think sometimes humility can be our downfall too, if we believe, if we avoid responsibility because of our humility. But you mentioned that point, so I think a little bit of ego or pride in so being proud to be able to serve our Creator is okay. It's okay to say, I'm proud to be a servant of God. And to say Alhamdulillah, all praise and thanks and glory be to him. To him belongs all honor, and he can take away that power, he can take away the fame, it's all by his permission. To acknowledge that, I think, is important. So another point I would like to make is, I might have forgotten it now.
Well, let me go with what you have, because
Okay.
I'm going to jump in there. I'm like
Okay, please do.
jumping in. So, so um so first of all, uh there is a huge danger when it comes to pride of like self-idolatry. That's good. There's a beautiful line in the Talmud that God says, the arrogant man and I can't be in the same place. Why? Because the arrogant man has already sort of put himself in the center. So arrogance can lead a person to a kind of self-worship, and that's very dangerous. The
It's very
and the pursuit of honor, I agree with you, by the way. There's two different kinds of honor. There's the honor that you want for yourself, right? There's the honor that you want for yourself, and truthfully, the Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says something very nice about this. He says, there's a line in the Torah that says that honor is a thing which is investigated. So what does that mean? It means like when you have worldly honor, there's always going to be somebody who comes along and says, that guy, really? Somebody gets knighted, okay? Somebody gets knighted, right? They come, and somebody else is going to say, they knighted that guy? He's a horrible actor. They should have, right? He's a horrible author. He's a horrible this, he's a horrible that. Why did they make him a knight? Why did they do this? Why did they give him honor? Why did this person get this award? Why did that person get that award? Right? So worldly honor is always questioned.
Oh
Right?
yeah, and when it comes to things like that, like I would run away. Let's say you've got a team of people doing a project, and then one of them gets the honor, a medal to say well done. I don't think I wouldn't want that. I mean, I have been awarded things in the past actually, but actually now I would be like, no, give it to someone else, because anybody else in the team is just as worthy to have that honor, that medal, as I would be, because I couldn't have done it without them. So, and actually, I'm not even worthy because I couldn't do anything without my creator. So everything I can do, it's only because I can with the blessings, gifts, and talents I've got. When I'm talking about pride, I don't mean it like that. I mean, so for example, you know how you might wear some nice clothing
Mhm.
that's colorful and it's beautiful. Okay, so God loves beauty, and our thought and our speech, our intentions, our thought, our speech, and our actions are like garments. So just like you might be, wear a, beautiful, colorful coat, um, and take pride in your appearance, I think we can do the same thing with our desires, our thoughts, our speech, our behavior, if it's in the ways of peace, and if our intention is sincere, and it's to praise and thank our God and to glorify him, and it's to please him, and our intention is to seek truth, and our thoughts, we use our intellect to seek truth and wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and we use our lips to speak truth and be kind and to say what's necessary, and we use our actions to reach out and help the poor and help the needy, and to do justice in this world. If somebody's able to do that, then what they're really doing is that they are revealing the beauty of God within creation, and they can take pride in doing that, because but to say, obviously, still, if they're successful in doing that, to say, well, still, it's not, it's all praise and thanks be to God. I'm not going to take any credit, but I can be a proud servant. Very nice, and and to accept that honor, because I think God does honor and praise those who convey his messages, and to accept that from him as a mercy, and to acknowledge that it's a mercy. I think that's a beautiful thing. And if it wasn't for if we didn't have a little bit of ego, or a little bit of, something to create an identity, I know we're saying there's no reality other than God. There's only one God. Yes, there is none other than him. However, how can we say that we are a servant of our creator if we don't separate ourselves enough to be able to have the identity of a servant? So if our ego is being used to be a servant of our creator in order that we can have a relationship with him, and in order that we can have a relationship with all the other beautiful diversity in the world, so that he can reveal his beauty, because this is what he wants, then surely is true humility not to take a step back and to go into that position, rather than just say, because otherwise it's like saying you are God. If we were there was no separation at all between ourselves and our creator, then we would be saying, well, everything is God. But then what's the purpose of that? Because then there's no relationship. Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm just saying.
You're doing such a good job. I want to argue your side. That's the problem. Okay.
Well,
Okay,
I think
I have to brace
it's
myself.
obviously, if there was no me, if you are me and I'm you, there's something like that in Judaism, isn't there? If you were me and I were you, then it's good to see each other in each other so we can have a relationship. But if you were completely me and I was completely you, and everything is the same, it's like, what's the point of having one flower? Isn't it more beautiful having infinite amount of flowers and new creations being created as we speak, because this is the will of our creator? But to do that, everything in this world has to have an ego. We have to have some sort of separation to have an identity. So
Right.
I think if we're using our ego and our pride in order to choose to be a servant, rather than choosing our ego as a god and worshipping our ego as a god, then I think that's like sacrificing your negative ego for the cause of your creator, and that brings a huge pleasure to God. It brings a huge pleasure to him. So in that case, you're transforming your ego in a way that serves the creator, rather than just get rid of it completely. Because if we get rid of it completely, we wouldn't exist.
Right. If you got rid of it completely, you wouldn't exist. So I'm going to argue your side for 1 second. And I'll go back. So you're right. I mean, you wouldn't exist, and beyond that, right? you were created, right? You were created, each one of us was created unique, right? Each one it was absolutely unique. And um and each has we have our own talents, we have our own way of serving God, we have our own our own gifts that we bring, right, to the service of God. And so those are individual. And also, if you had no ego, you wouldn't be able to serve God at all, right? Let's say I'm going to pray, right? I can't pray if I don't have some sense that like I'm worth
It's good.
God paying attention to, right? If I don't think that God's worth paying attention to me, then there's no point in my praying. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you there. I'm also going to agree with you that um that I'm going to put it a little bit in Yiddish, that we shouldn't be schlemiels, right? We shouldn't think of ourselves as being unworthy,
Mhm.
right? We shouldn't treat ourselves, and we shouldn't treat ourselves as unworthy. And I think that that's when
Mhm.
it comes to the way that we speak, when it comes to the way that we behave, when it comes to even the way that we dress, right?
Mhm.
Uh, you know, Rabbi Nachman says never to go out in clothes with stains on them, right? Why? Because if you're a servant of God, you shouldn't look like a bum. It's not good to look like a bum, because then you're also going to feel like a bum, right? You're going to feel a lack of dignity if you dress with a lack of dignity. So you should dress with a little bit of dignity, right? And even a little bit of beauty, right? And there's a benefit in that. Now, the question is, how do you do that without it going to your head? That's where
I think
humility
it's
comes.
about, I think it, yeah, and I think its intention is really important. So two people might be wearing the same outfit and looking just as beautiful, but
Mhm,
one might be doing it to serve their creator, and the other might be doing it to for themselves to boost their ego because they want to get attention and they want people to worship them or praise them and say, oh, what how wonderful you look, and they want, they like the attention for themselves. So if we everything we do, we can either choose to do it for self-glory or we can choose to do it for the glory of our creator. So the other person might be, their intention might be, well, I'm going to try to look beautiful as much as I can in order that people will want to speak to me, in order that I have an opportunity to speak to them about God, or in order for me to have an opportunity to do an act of kindness to them. And and then they might ask me, oh, who are you? And you can say, well, I'm a servant of God or something, that you're trying to do it for the sake of the glory of your creator instead of for yourself. And the same with our ego. I think the same with anything really. I mean, one could argue, well, Lale, if you're trying to make excuses for everything, then what is the excuse for arrogance? What is the reason that, arrogance exists? And the only excuse I can come up with for that is that it's there so that we can sacrifice it, so that we can choose to do the opposite. And I think that's within all of us, every single human being. Um, and it's a constant thing. It's not just I sacrifice it once. You have to keep sacrificing it over and over again all the time because it's how our intellect seeks our creator. So we think, well, it's part of the truth seeking process
mhm,
to, and you find a truth and you think, this is it. But actually, we've got to let it go and say that there is always a higher truth, and to keep seeking instead of being stuck on that at that place, and then to assume that you know better than everybody else, and to assume that you know better than your creator. So we've got to keep letting it go. We've got to keep sacrificing our arrogance for the sake of knowing our creator better. It's like it helps us to get even closer, to get even more intimate with our creator and with each other. So for example, our fall from paradise, if we might have done something and actually because of that, so when we descend spiritually because of arrogance, then all sorts of things come out from our ego. We've got anger, we've got greed, we've got vengeance, we've got envy and lust and sloth and gluttony, all of the, the sorrows and the fears. Everything negative stems from our ego. Look at all the world and all the wars that are happening and all the injustice in the world and the oppression and the corruption. It's all because of our ego. So, but what's beautiful is if we can sacrifice that for our creator and to acknowledge that none has the right to be worshipped except him, to return to him. And then when we do return to him, then we get even closer to him than we were before, because we now understand and appreciate the true meaning of humility. And it's everything in its opposite is there, one, so we can get the right balance and I think take out what's good and let go of the rest. And two, it's so that we can appreciate righteousness, so we can appreciate the beautiful qualities of light over darkness and of good over evil. And so we can experience the joy and delight of our Maker and the mercy of our Maker. But to do that, to really appreciate it, we have to see the other side, and that other side is part of every single one of us. It's part of our nature, and it's there for a purpose. There we go. That's
Okay.
my
So I think I agree with you. So where how do we sort of check the ego, right? I mean, it's so I think that kind of taking care of, kind of watching the ego takes place basically two places, here and here, right? In our mind and heart, and the responsibility is we don't want to behave like boors in this world. We don't want to think of ourselves. We can't. You can't serve God and think of yourself as an absolute nothing. Okay, because it doesn't work that way. You have to have a sense of dignity and so on. At the same time, you don't want to put yourself in the place of God. So I am going to give practical advice in the form of a Hasidic story. Okay, and this will solve every problem. Okay.
Your stories are amazing.
So I think it was Rabbunim of Shushka. Okay, so when he lived, I'm gonna say he lived in the 18th century, I think early 18th century. And he once said that everybody should keep two notes in their pocket. In one pocket, they should have a note that says, I am nothing but dust and ashes.
Mhm.
And another pocket, they should have a note that says, the world was created for me. So the trick is you have to know which pocket to reach into when. There are times when we're feeling low, when we're feeling like we're really not worth like we really don't have what it takes to be good servants of God. And we need to lift ourselves up. And then on that time we should we reach into our pocket. We should, the world was created for me. This whole world was created for me, and I'm a special person. And there are other times when we're feeling puffed up, and we just received our Oscar. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but our Oscar, our award. The medals are hanging around our neck, and then we reach into the pocket that says, "I'm nothing but dust, nothing dust
That's
and ashes."
beautiful. And to do that, it requires wisdom. And so wisdom is the thing, I think, which guides us helps, God grants wisdom to whom he wills. And we should seek it and pray for it. And if people have wisdom, they have something very special, because it grants them the ability to know how to behave in every situation appropriately, using humility or, bit of feeling honored or whatever, but knowing your self-worth, so that we believe in ourselves as well and believe in our own potentials. What's the point of having gifts, blessings, talents if we don't believe that we have the potential to use them in the best way possible to serve our creator?
Right.
So,
And I think the beauty of this and having this kind of dialogue is to show that while these things appear to be opposites, right, they're really both gifts. right? They're really both gifts to us to be
Yes.
able to use, to use in the service of the Creator and really also in the service of each other, right? It's not just, it's really service of each other is also service of the Creator, and that these are not really opposites, but they complement each other. And when used together, or when used wisely, right, we can accomplish amazing things. So
We can. So let's sacrifice our gift of arrogance, I'd say,
okay,
all of us. If
okay.
we can all do
So
that, and imagine then that how amazing everything would be and how much pleasure that will bring to our Creator.
that makes I want humility. Yay, humility.
Well done.
Okay. Wish everybody a beautiful week, and we'll join you again next week.
God
And
bless you all.
God bless everybody.
God bless you all. Peace be with you. Shalom.
Shalom.